Hello, freaks, geeks, scruff-tards, degenerates, and random weirdos online. Welcome to the Warzone. I'm Scruffy, and this is Scruffy Tales. And it's gonna be a bit of a mixed bag here. Ukraine is struggling in Kursk. There's no other way to view it. But that said, Ukraine does have some success at Pokrovsk, and they are applying a lot of pressure on the Russians in Toretsk. And we're going to finish this off with the sad fact that Trump is cutting all military support for Ukraine. Right, so what are we talking about? Here we have deep states map, and if we, from the 4th, if we jump ahead to the, I think it's the 6th this morning, or this night, boom, here you can see what happens. Shifts down here and a big push here from Russia, and this push is what I've been talking about for ages, and that it was inevitable. It's coming, and here we are. And they are also applying even more pressure here, going straight south towards Yunakivka. If we head on over to Mayakovsk 73 again, same push here at Krylovka. And the push is here at Basivka, heading going straight south for towards Yunakivka, and you even have them at Suravka and what have you. So it's happening. And why is all of this important and crucial? For that, we will head on over to. I haven't updated my map yet for these. For these updates, but what's happening here is that we have confirmation that Russia now has pushed in here in this area, just south of Krylovka. More than likely they moved across here. This is where they have cover on the eastern side of Pesel, made it across, made it into these woods down here, just south of Krylovka, and relying on cover to get across. And so now they are at Krylovka, they've crossed the river, they can begin applying pressure on Krylovka. If you move up here, they are pushing down this way. They were here, they pushed further south, so it's this windbreak they've pushed down into. And Suravka as well, and pushing into Novenka. And what is happening here? This push here, coming down here, this way and going straight south here. They're heading for Yunakivka. Yunakivka is the logistical hub that supports the entire Kursk campaign. If they reach Yunakivka, it's over. And if you take a look here, and same thing here, they're across. They can now begin pushing towards all of these logistical routes leading up to Sucha from the south. This is dangerous. This puts pressure on the entire Kursk campaign. And this is why I trust my gut instincts when it comes to these things. I've been talking about this ever since the Kursk campaign began. The dangers of Russia reaching the rivers down here. Let's see here if we can use deep state to highlight. You can see here the river Pesel goes up into Suja. Here you have the river Loknia. And I've been talking about for 5 or 6 months how Ukraine must hold the line along the river. Outside of the rivers here, they can lose territory, but they must not let Russia cross. They let Russia cross at Sverdlikovo. Now at Krylovka. Here, Russia is following the river instead of crossing it south to Yunakivka, this vital logistical hub. And now Russia will apply pressure and begin cutting supply lines down here. They can apply pressure here to reaching the supply line here. And they're going down straight for Yunakivka. So they're going straight for the supply lines. That's why Ukraine is having trouble up here. They're probably moving troops away from the front to secure the rear echelons. But Russia is on a roll. They know they are close to achieving great victories, important victories, decisive victories. So they will apply pressure, keep pushing. And this entire operation is heavily pressured, under heavy pressure at the moment, to containing the Russians here and containing them down here. Because this is where they can cut a lot of the supply lines. Take a look if they're coming in here. And of course, if they reach Yunakivka, then Ukraine can only rely on dirt roads coming up from Sepsilia, and there's not that much in the form of roads here. You can see here that Ukraine can rely on, and it's going to get muddy. Logistics will get bogged down. It's going to be difficult to bring in supplies, and this is a crucial moment for Ukraine in the Kursk campaign, being able to hold the line here on the border and being able to contain the Russians at Kurlikovka. On the flip side, down at Pokrovsk, we are seeing some successes for Ukraine. Russia is still advancing down here, obviously. If we go back a couple of days, you can see here they are advancing. But if we move ahead, things are happening up around Pokrovsk. We have the push here, the push into Pyshane, obviously in Kotlina, but also here at Uspenivka. And if we head on over to Mayakovsk 73 and his map, we can see other things are happening as well. Here, Ukrainian push into Shevchenko, and over here, Russian POWs in the middle of Udachne, and it does appear as if Ukraine is pushing in this way and forcing Russia back out of this windbreak down here. You have a Ukrainian assault here. We head on over to the 3D map. No, I don't want you. If we take a look at the ISW, you can see here, ISW is highlighting that Ukraine has moved into that southern windbreak and pushed up here. Here we have Udachne. So Ukraine has made a push this way and come up here. This is a wide open field. No one is in control of it. It is the windbreaks that they were fighting in. The push into Uspenivka, the push into Shevchenko, the push into Shevchane, and here you can have the push into Kotlina. The other mappers have Kotlina mostly under Ukrainian control. So not sure why ISW has not updated their map. If we take a look at, here you can see Mayakovsk 73, they're in Kotlina. Deep State, they are in Kotlina. If we take a look at Andrew's map here, they are in Kotlina. Here you have the Ukrainian push, Bradley's pushing in to Shevchenko, and the push into Uspenivka, and fighting ongoing in Pyshane. So this is happening. So why is Ukraine having all these successes? It is because Ukraine pushed into Pyshane and reduced Russian logistical capabilities. They could move through here, through Pyshane to Vovkova. Now Russia is forced to use this dam to bring supplies and reinforcements into this area here. And as you can see, after the that's a choke point, obviously, and after that, either they have to cross over into this windbreak to continue supplying the front line, or follow a small road up here, another choke point, in other words, into Vovkova. And from here, they basically need to cross this part of the battlefield into this valley. Take a look, because wide open fields, they can't support the front line going up straight north for Kotlina. They have to come into the valley, follow cover, maybe try the luck pushing up north, but the best route is through the valley down here where you have wooded areas, so that you can follow the windbreak up this way and reach the railroad tracks here with the wooded areas surrounding them, and that way reach Kotlina and Udachne over here, and the fighting ongoing in these windbreaks. And that is all because Ukraine managed to push into Pyshane, and Russia is now forced to move supplies across the dam, and a choke point here, and of course a choke point right here. And Ukraine is relying on this to apply pressure on the Russians all over this part of the battlefield here. The Russians are isolated, there are waterways, dams, narrow approach points, few routes to choose from, and Russia is now feeling the pressure, running low on ammunition, food, and manpower, and slowly but surely being pushed back from this part of the battlefield. Unintentional trap, or Ukraine making the best of the situation, who knows, but I think they saw an opportunity. launched an attack into Peshana, and they have now more or less isolated the Russians here in Udachne, Kotlina, and Vovkove, and Solone. And the Russians are struggling to hold on to this territory at the moment. And of course, we've also seen some success for Ukraine of late at Toretsk. If we zoom in here, you can see how Ukraine has pushed in. They're pushing down hard this way, pushing over here, but famously they've pushed in here in this big pincer move towards the center of town. And they have two pincer moves ongoing. When we zoom in, take a look. They're coming in this way and this way, trying to isolate this pocket at the same time, coming in here and here to isolate the grander pocket. So they are applying pressure to Russian logistics and reinforcement approach points at two locations, narrowing Russian chances of bringing troops here and further reducing their chances of bringing in troops here. Here you have this big slag heap, what it looks like. So Russia only has a couple of options here, a couple of streets to move through to support up here. And basically the same thing here. You have a park, a couple of streets, the buildings, they can always move through them. But as you can see, Ukraine is applying a lot of pressure on the Russians in Toretsk. So we'll see if they can actually manage to reclaim basically half the city. And then, of course, you have the big push here as well into the outskirts south of these slag heaps, forcing Russia to allocate troops and manpower, logistics to hold the line here, while Ukraine is applying the massive amount of dangerous pressure here in the middle, in the center of Toretsk. And of course, Trump is pissed off at Zelensky, so now they're shutting down military aid for Ukraine. They're shutting down sharing military intelligence with Ukraine. The rumors are, it's only rumors, that they are also shutting down HIMARS launchers and stuff like that, with a potential kill switch. Who knows? But those are rumors. What we can say for certain is that this will affect the front line, losing American military support. Ukraine won't be able to strike deep behind enemy lines at the logistics and supply depots, fuel depots, and what have you, command centers. And the last time the United States did not provide artillery shells for Ukraine, and Ukraine only had to rely on Europe, that is when Russia grabbed Avdiivka, pushed out towards Ocheretune, and then continued this big push towards Novorodivka up towards Pokrovsk, and they are now reached Udachne. They pushed through Volodar, Velika Novosilka. All of that began when the Republicans in the United States shut down military support, military aid to Ukraine for, was it 6 months? And that resulted in Russia pushing beyond into Avdiivka, beyond Avdiivka, all the way over here to where they are now. So you can now imagine what's in store, potentially, possibly, for Ukraine if Trump never ever provides military assistance for Ukraine. Europe is stepping up, absolutely, but you still need time to build everything Ukraine needs. There's going to be bottlenecks along in the production line, where you have 10 factories pushing what they have produced through 1, 2, or 3 factories that are supposed to put everything together. That's going to be a choke point, a bottleneck. And then after that, you're going to have to push them out to other factories or assembly plants and what have you. Europe is aiming to provide Ukraine with billions of dollars in support, and that's awesome. Ukraine won't be able to use that for a year or two. And in that time, we may see a proper breakthrough by Russia, is what I fear. Not this slow advance. I mean, it took Russia 14 months to make it from Avdiivka to Shevchenko, 60 kilometers in 14 months. And they took an area here that was barely the size of Luxembourg, right? Barely the size of Luxembourg, this tiny country in the middle of Europe. 14 months. That's not blitzkrieg. That is snail's pace of advance, not a breakthrough. A slow fighting withdrawal conducted by Ukraine that basically held the line while slowly falling back. Now, however, there is a chance that we might actually see a proper breakthrough, is what I fear, with Russia potentially pushing through towards Dnipro, either from over here, maybe from down here. They are advancing up here. Maybe the breakthrough will be here towards Kharkiv. Maybe it will be Ukraine collapsing at Kursk and Russia pushes in towards Sumy and expanding from here. There is a real risk this will happen without US support. And so we're going to have to wait and see what happens on that front. Maybe Trump changes his mind. Maybe the Ukrainians offers Trump a deal he can accept to start providing them with weapons again. But I just want to highlight that the last time the United States did this with the Republican Party, that is why Russia managed to grab Avdiivka and push on through and reach Pokrovsk and Velika Novosilka. All because the Republicans in the United States denied Ukraine military support. And now it's gone even further with Trump cutting all support for Ukraine. And that means we may actually see a proper breakthrough. Instead of 14 months, in 2 or 3 months, 6 months, they may pierce and reach Pavlograd, for instance. So we need to keep that in mind, and we need to keep supporting Ukraine. Because there's a great risk that this will spiral out of control really fast, really soon. And that's it. That's all I have for this morning. Hopefully things will turn around during the day. We'll get some positive updates on the maps. But at the moment, Ukraine is struggling in Kursk. I don't know how you can make an argument that shows you anything else. What's happening at Pokrovsk and Toretsk, very reassuring. But then again, Trump is cutting supplies and support for Ukraine. So, it is what it is. Well, that's going to have to be it. I hope I'll see you in the next one. As always, go på marsch, Ukraine, and give them hell.